Good afternoon. We'll start today's news conference to the kickoff of Wildfire Awareness Week 2017. We will begin with our speakers. We will then have a question and answer period after that, and then we'll move into a one-on-one interview process for your convenience after that. I would like now to introduce the Director of CAL FIRE, Chief Ken Pimlott.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Scott. And again, thank you all for taking the opportunity to come out to our Aviation Management Unit and once again kick off Wildfire Awareness Week. Before we get started, I want to take a moment just to acknowledge a number of individuals that are with us today that won't have speaking roles but are an integral part of our partnership in California, engaging in fire and resource management issues. Certainly with us, Janet Berenson, the CAL FIRE Chief Deputy Director, Dave Teeter, Deputy Director of Fire Protection for CAL FIRE, Dennis Matheson, our State Fire Marshal, Mike Lopez, President of CAL FIRE Local 2881, Lou Paulson, California Professional Firefighters President, Bruce Saito, the Director of the California Conservation Corps, Tracy Hansen, the Chief of the Cosumnes Fire Department and past President of Cal Chiefs. She's representing Cal Chiefs today. Dave Bischel, President of the California Forestry Association. Craig Thomas, the Director of the Sierra Forest Legacy. Jim Branham, Sierra Nevada Conservancy Executive Director. Joe Stout, the Acting Director for BLM, and a great deal of his staff that are here today. Lindsay Paulo, Manager with Pacific Gas and Electric Company. Kim Zagaris, the Chief of Fire and Rescue Branch for Cal OES. And Richard Hadley, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So again, a great number of other folks here today as well. The list is long, and we appreciate everybody that's here with us today. I also want to comment on, and we've talked about this before, and I'm certainly proud to say it again, but for now, a 6th year in a row, our CAL FIRE Aviation Management Unit, the folks right here at this facility that manage all of CAL FIRE's aviation fleet, both here and across the department, have been provided by the FAA the Diamond Award for Excellence. And again, that's the 6th year in a row now, consecutively, that that award has been, and I offered to them, provided to them, and I greatly appreciate everything they do for CAL FIRE and for the state every day here, and appreciate what they did to take care of supporting us for this event. Every year, Wildfire Awareness Week, this is when we kick off our awareness statewide. Whether we've had unprecedented rain and snow across the state doesn't change the fact that it's California. We have conditions that are always conducive in places of the state to have extreme conditions when it relates to wildland fire. This year, you're going to see and hear a lot about different topics from the speakers, but certainly what's changed this year is a lot of grass. You can just see it literally driving down the highways and in the back roads of California, but unprecedented amount of grass that has grown, and that's the kindling that will start or support fires across the state. So as I talked about, we're joined by partners behind me that each will talk a little bit about their perspective on, again, the 2017 fire season. And so what I'd like to do is introduce Brigadier General Laura Yeager with the California National Guard. No relation to Chuck Yeager, but no less important. So with that, General Yeager.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to be here today representing the Adjutant General of California, General David Baldwin, and well over 20,000 men and women, soldiers and airmen of the California National Guard that live, work, and serve in the communities that are often affected by fires. I'm here to tell you today that we are trained and ready to support the state if needed. We just completed training in April with our partners from CAL FIRE, training that's unique to California that we do every year. It consists of classroom training in addition to flight training that we conduct with the military helicopter managers that fly on board our aircraft during the fire season. And in addition to that, we've got an airplane in the background, 14 aircraft available to support the state, rotary wing if needed. And just to give you an idea of how experienced our crew members are doing this mission, over the last 10 years, on average, they've dropped over 1 million gallons of water a year. And when you think that most of the water buckets have about 500 gallons in them, you can see that that's a lot of work. Those air crews can be augmented if needed by air crews from other states and also from air crews that serve on active duty here in the United States, in California or elsewhere, so we're able to expand to accept those additional crews. I don't know if you remembered back in 2008 when we had the big lightning strike fires, we were able to expand to over 40 aircraft, and those aircraft came from 14 different states across the country. In addition to the rotary wing aircraft, we have 2 out of the 8 C-130s that are able to do the modular airborne firefighting system internal to those aircraft. Those aircraft, when so equipped, can drop 3,000 gallons of fire retardant, and we're able to activate those aircraft in about 24 hours and get them on the scene. In addition to that, we've got the capability of activating hand crews, and we have done that the last couple of years. We've activated over 1,000 personnel to support hand crew work. And the great thing about that is these are obviously not as highly trained as the Type 1 hand crews, but they're Type 2, and that relieves the Type 1 hand crews to be able to go on to other missions that are a little bit more difficult than the missions that our people do. Additionally, we have communications capabilities that we deploy every year for fires, and those capabilities allow the personnel from CAL FIRE and the personnel that from our organization supporting to communicate in even the most remote locations, which is a huge factor in ensuring safety and efficiency of those crews. We are also able to, from our Lakota aircraft, we're able to take video and live stream that to analysts that can provide valuable intelligence information to the CAL FIRE staff in order for them to determine where to maybe deploy or redeploy assets to better support the fire operations. So you can see we have a plethora of capability. We've done some unique things the last couple of years. We've also deployed military police that have helped protect property from looters when we had the fires in Lake County. And we've deployed a bridge from one of our engineer units in the last couple of years, so that was a unique one as well. We have been working with CAL FIRE for many years. The program predates my arrival into the California National Guard, so that's well over 22 years. And over that time, I can tell you we've built a huge amount of trust and respect between our department and the California Department of Fire. It is an amazing relationship. We are on a by-name basis with each other, and like we always want to say during crises, you never want to be exchanging business cards at the crisis. You want to know each other before you get there. So, well, I would say we hope that we're not needed this year. We've been needed every year that I can remember. We hope that we're not needed, but I can assure you that if we are needed, we are trained and ready to support. Thank you, and I will be followed now by Director Mark Illaducci, the Director of Office of Emergency Services. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be with you today. Let me just start off by saying that coming out of 5 years of drought and some of the worst fire activity we've seen in past years, we have continued to gear up, and even though we've had a wet winter, we know that we're going to have a lot of fuel build, flashy fuel and grasses that come back, and it will be amazing how fast that grass and those fuels dry out, and we are back into a very active part of the year. California is known for wildfires, and we have to be prepared because I mean, look, we've already seen about 500 fires this year alone, just beginning at the beginning of the year. Wildfires destroy property and can kill you, and it's important that as citizens we are prepared. We take responsibility, start thinking about the fuels that are around our homes, and start to prepare ourselves for another active year. CAL FIRE and U.S. Forest Service and the National Guard and the California Conservation Corps, all of these assets are tremendous assets that we have at the state and the federal level to go in and respond to fires, but they are augmented and coordinated through the Office of Emergency Services, through the California Fire and Rescue Mutual Aid System, which brings an additional capability to this fight. Close to 1,000 local government fire departments participate in that mutual aid system. At any time, we can tap into the 55,000 plus firefighters that exist in California to come in and support events that may be taking place in the state. All of this is coordinated by OES to ensure that we have the right resources applied at the right places at all times. In addition to that, we bolster the system with another 165 plus engines that are part of the OES system that augment CAL FIRE operations throughout the state and other local governments that may have a wildfire situation. This mutual aid system is unique to California. It's one of the most fabulous, most unbelievable systems that exist in the world today, where we could actually mobilize within hours thousands of firefighters, thousands of fire equipment, pieces of fire equipment, and we have them respond into an area to support local government, to support CAL FIRE, to help fight the fires that we see each and every year. So know when you see all those fire engines responding in support of CAL FIRE, those are coming from local government fire departments all throughout California through a very coordinated system that we have here, organized through OES, the California Fire and Rescue Mutual Aid System. So let me just close by saying that, again, more than ever, and we've seen tragedy in the last few years with pretty significant wildfires. Lots of loss of property. We've had loss of lives. We have people injured. It's important that you think about this, take responsibility, because wildfire can happen in any parts of our state, and it can happen very, very fast. And before you know it, you could be in the middle of a fire situation. So learn about Ready, Set, Go. Go to the website, on the Wildfire website, to prepare yourself, and reach out to your local fire departments or your local emergency management agencies to seek more information. With that, let me pass it on now to our great partner at the U.S. Forest Service, Acting Fire Director Chris Sco, U.S. Forest Service.
Good afternoon. My name's Chris Scow. I'm the Acting Director for Fire and Aviation Management for the United States Forest Service here in California. I'm proud to represent 18 national forests in California, stretching from way up on the Six Rivers in northwest California all the way down to the Cleveland National Forest outside of San Diego and the Mexican border. Together with our partners, everyone you see behind us, all these agencies that have just been mentioned, our federal partners, our state partners, and our local government partners, we work very hard to mitigate the impacts of wildland fire to the citizens of California. We do that in three main ways. We're looking for a safe, effective fire response when wildfire does occur. To that end, the U.S. Forest Service brings about 5,000 firefighters to bear in California. We have smoke jumpers in Redding. We have hotshot crews all over the state. We have about 270 engines scattered throughout the state, one of which you see behind us. We have an engine here today from the El Dorado National Forest, just up here from Sacramento. Very proud to have them here with us. We have heli-attack crews around the state. We have bulldozers, air attack planes, all sorts of resources to bring the fight. One of the most important aspects of a safe, effective fire response is that while we're able to protect the resources and people of California, we're also able to bring our firefighters home every night. That's very important to us. Every shift, every firefighter comes home. Second part of mitigating the impacts of wildfire to the citizens of California includes restoring resilient landscapes in the state. Like I said, we have 18 national forests, approximately 20 million acres of land in California. This land provides clean drinking water, hydroelectric power, recreation activities, timber and forage resources to the people of California. To restore that to a resilient state, we spend a great deal of effort using prescribed fire, using thinning techniques, using a variety of ways to keep that land healthy so it continues to provide for the people of California. The third prong of our attack in mitigating those impacts of wildfire is to collaborate with fire-adapted communities. We look to our communities to provide support through fire-safe councils, of building fuel breaks in various ownership lands, using our partnerships with everybody to get the right fuel breaks around the right communities. We rely on our communities to provide a safe firefighting environment for our firefighters. That includes things like the defensible space concepts that we all promote here. That's a very important aspect of what we do. So in California, wildland fire impacts everyone. As you've already heard, we have already had some fires this year in the state. I was in Redding on Friday, and we put out a load of jumpers just off Shasta Lake. A lot of our forests are still under snow, though. That snow will melt in the next couple weeks. We'll get a lot of runoff. We're assessing storm damage from those storms, finding out where we can still access areas, where we're going to have to do a lot of work to repair roads, bridges, and things like that. So wildfire can impact everyone. We're all in it together. As you can see today, as we bring all these agencies together to share this with you, we're ready for the 2017 fire season, and with that, I'll turn it over back to Director Pimlott from CAL FIRE.
So you've obviously heard the common theme here today is the partnership, and we're in it together. It's no accident that you see all of the agencies and organizations represented behind me, because it takes every one of us to address the fire challenge in California. CAL FIRE, just like you heard the Forest Service, has been preparing for fire season. We really haven't left fire season all year. We had fire engines and other resources staffed year-round because of the conditions that we've been facing. And we are currently in the process of ramping up, hiring firefighters, getting them trained and deployed, and ready to go for the peak of fire season conditions. But this addressing and response to wildland fires isn't just about the fire itself and responding to it. It's preparing for the inevitable fires that do occur. And that takes on several avenues. One, it is obviously having firefighters out there engaging the public and doing defensible space inspections, working with every individual homeowner to talk about what they need to do to prepare their homes to be more defendable in a wildland fire. Our goal this year has been over 250,000 inspections and contacts that we want to have around the state with homeowners in the wildland. But we also have goals with treating vegetation. Our firefighters that have come on board are actively addressing fuels reduction. They're out burning piles, they're creating fuel breaks, they're working with local fire safe councils to work on community protection projects. They're also engaged in prescribed burning, actually putting fire on the ground in safe conditions. That's occurring as we speak in areas here just to the east in the Lake Tahoe Basin and other areas of the state. So these firefighters and our partners are out actively working to reduce the fire threat before it occurs. But the key piece here, and we've talked about this before, 95% of fires are started by people, which means we can prevent 95% of these fires. So this engaging with the public and encouraging everyone to engage in fire-safe practices around their home, when they're camping, when they're in the outdoors. This year we're excited because every year we talk about our Ready, Set, Go, and that's being ready ahead of time, the defensible space, all the things to do ahead of time. The set part is having our plan so that when it's time to evacuate, we know what to bring with us and we can safely leave the fire area quickly. And then, of course, the last part is the go, which means leave. But this year we've added a very significant tool to our arsenal, and that's our Ready for Wildfire application. Anyone can download it to their smartphone, whether it's the Android or iPhone, either the Google Play Store or the iPhone App Store, depending on your device. You can download that. It will walk you through, it's free, and it will walk you through what you can do to fire safe your home. You can actually rate yourself as you go through it and identify the things you need to do so you can have a real-time understanding of what you need to do. It also provides updates on real-time updates on fire information, either within your community, near your zip code, or other areas of the state. So it's another tool to ensure everyone has real-time information to be safe. So we're real excited about that this year. We really encourage, I think we have almost 20,000 downloads of that is my understanding, and we want to get that number way up this year. But obviously our challenges are out there. You've heard, despite the rain and the snow, the conditions will return to the kinds of things we've seen in the last several years, later this summer. The potential is there. We have over 100 million trees that have succumbed to the epidemic level of bark beetle outbreak in the central and southern Sierra. So the conditions exist, and this is what we're paying close attention to and what we want everybody in California to pay close attention to. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Secretary for Natural Resources, John Laird.
Thank you, Chief. I want to be really clear. Most people in California think that we had one of the wettest years in modern history, and therefore we are safe from major fires in California. Yet last year at this time, 831 acres had burned in a CAL FIRE area in the month before this date. This year, 7,245 acres have burned in the month before this date. So even though this is supposedly a wetter year, we've had 9 times the acreage burn already. So people cannot be complacent. And the reason is clear. The rains left a lot of fuel. The early fires that have happened already have primarily been grass fires in places where it's then got warm and there's an incredible amount of grass that burns. And you see Merced, there have been studies, and they say in the last decades, the fire season is longer. It begins earlier, it goes later in California. That is the new normal. Even though we had a wet year, it will be warmer. We will be more subject to fire in the summer months, and we have to be ready. So I'm channeling the governor, who normally comes to this and couldn't be here this year, because he said at this very event the year before last, don't do anything stupid. And the reason he said that is 95% of the fires in California are human caused in some way. So it is really up to us, whether it's defensible space, whether it's not operating certain machinery in the warmest hours of the day, whether it's being vigilant on campfires. The Soberanes fire in the last season was apparently due to a campfire that was left unattended after the people left. It is really incumbent on us to understand that this will be an intense fire season. That is the new normal. We have to be ready. We cannot be complacent. We have to watch all human activity that might lead to fire, and whether it's defensible space, operating machinery, or just care in being around places that might burn when you might be the cause of something that leads to a fire. That is why we have Fire Awareness Week, and that is the message we really have to get across this year. And with climate change, which the governor is really working on, this is only going to get worse. As the chief said, we have 100 million dead trees left in California. There were 102 million. We have dealt with 2 million. We have 100 million to go. Not every one is flammable, given its stage. We have prioritized public safety next to urban areas, next to roadways, next to the power lines or the power grid. But we are aware that there is much more to that in California as well. So we want everybody to take seriously Fire Awareness Week, and we want them to personally do what it takes to be ready to defend themselves and to not do what it takes to start a fire. And with that, we are all here and available for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Secretary. Any questions